All right, today we're going to do a quick video on how to make a video using DaVinci Resolve. This is just going to be a quick overview just to make sure you understand the basic principles behind it. Let me see here. First, we're going to go to open up DaVinci Resolve. And I can take that off the screen. Okay. I'm recording with OBS software. Okay. Now I've got DaVinci Resolve open here, and you can see I did a test video a while ago to make sure that it works. But I'm going to create a new project down here at the bottom, and I'm going to give it a title. I'm calling this one C major scale, just like the previous one that I made. And it's not going to let me, so I'm just going to make a C major scale B. Call it whatever you want, as long as it makes sense to you and you can get through it. Okay, so this is DaVinci Resolve. You might get a prompt saying there's a newer version out. So I'm currently using usually it says about right there. In most software. Anyhow, this is, I guess, 17 point something. It's probably not going to change much from any updates. I digress. So right now we need some media to put into this. So if you're doing the tutorial that I've gotten for you, you need to download the actual files or make your own. I highly recommend doing that just so you understand the full process. But if you just need some video files to get started with, I'm going to minimize my DaVinci, and I'm going to go to download, pull this up. So in our Google Doc, I've got a link here. If I go to that link, ta-da, I have a bunch of videos, and you can download various ones. For this, I'm going to use Sweet Video Overlay. Right click, download, choose a location to download it, and you can see that I already have, but I have a drive on my computer called UTM, and then I've made a subdirectory called today's date in C major scale. So I know I can search for it later on by date if I remember when I did a project, or obviously the name of it. And then I made a subdirectory called assets. And it sounds like my son's having a time in there. So I've got assets. That's where I can put my videos, graphics if I have them, or anything else like that. Some audio overlays. And you may even want to subdivide them if you get into larger projects where you've got a lot of videos and a lot of audio. You might have some subsets. I don't know if you can hear that. So anyhow, I save each of my video, Sweet Video Overlay. Normally I would hit save there, and then I pick out, in this case I used the C major 2 scale and downloaded it. Same thing, right click, download, boom. Okay, so I'm putting this away. Now I'm going back to my DaVinci, which I already have open, and I'm going to open up that. This is the folder where I put my videos. I can just drag and drop them. So I'm going to drag in my my piano video track there. Hey, why did you not? Okay. So you should be able to drag it into the timeline or the media pool, either one. But anyhow, so I've got a prompt. It says it's the project frame rate is different than the video frame rate, the video that I'm bringing in. I would change it. This is usually a good idea, but sometimes you're going to have multiple frame rates and whatnot, and most software, DaVinci included, is going to address that for you. But if all your video that you're using, you're pretty sure is going to be the same frame rate, go ahead and change your project to that frame rate. It just saves a lot of headache. So I'm changing. Boom, I've got my C major 2 video in here, I can drag it into my timeline. Now with this, the purpose of this video is getting 2 videos and bringing them in together and synchronizing them. So I'm going to take my Suite video overlay, drag it in. All right, so now I'm going to click on my DaVinci, go to my Suite video overlay, and drag it in. Boom. Ah, this is great. They are not aligned. If I hit my spacebar, it's just all over the map. Nothing's in sync and nothing's lined up. So it would be intuitive to drag this around. And then, okay, they're still not in line. I'm hitting my home. They're still not in line. Now, if you noticed, I can see these little waveforms down here, right? And the waveforms down here on this video represent the bottom one represent the wave, the audio from the keyboard video, and the one with my face obviously belongs to my voice. I can use that to align, but this is kind of clunky and awkward. In fact, let me maximize my window. DaVinci has multiple workspaces. This is one of the things I found a little awkward coming from Premiere. It's a really nice piece of software, but I'm trying to grab this bottom video and slide it around and get it in sync, and it's pulling the top one, and that seems weird. Maybe if I trim top video, yeah, I could do that, and that's still a little awkward. What happens if I trim this video? Oh, that's not very intuitive at all. It moves the whole... So what do? Well, if you notice down here, it's cut is highlighted. You probably want to go next to it and click Edit. This is a whole different workspace, and it's a little more intuitive. First thing you'll probably notice is that my tracks here in the middle of my timeline have 2 representations. The top one up here in blue represents the video aspect of it, and down here in green is the audio aspect of it, right? So that should make sense, except there's no way to really tell that this is which video that we're selecting here. So if you move your mouse over these lanes right over here on the left hand side, I can make my lanes bigger. It puts a thumbnail in there. It populates it with a thumbnail that I can tell what's going on. Same here. So you might be working on a smaller monitor and you don't have all this room, so it allows you to adjust that preview. I don't really need to see it right now. I'm working on the editing, so I'm going to make this timeline as big as possible. Now this looks a lot easier. Now I would like to get closer, so I can hold down Control on my keyboard, and while I'm holding down Control, I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel. Oh, I'm sorry, Alt. I jump around in software too much. I'm holding down Alt and scrolling my mouse wheel, and you can see that I'm zooming in on these wave files. Well, now, oh yeah, I can really line things up, except that, okay, there we go. Now, Alt. I'm going to try this out. I can take my cursor, or my playback head. I think that's the technical term for this in all the software. Boom. Now it is all in line. Great. Hey presto, we're done, right? Okay, so now let's go back to the beginning. I can also hit Home and put my playback head at the very beginning. It starts off Alt, scroll, zoom in. Okay, there's a few things I don't like here. One, this dude's head is sideways. Nobody wants that. So I'm going to rotate it. Now, if you don't have this showing over here, and this is an inspector, it might be turned off. So up on the top right hand side, look for the word inspector. There's a little icon there that looks like a wrench and a paintbrush. Okay, anyhow, I've got my inspector out. Make sure that the whatever you want to affect is selected. So right now I have my keyboard track selected. So if I do anything like zoom, it doesn't do anything because we don't see that track. I'm going to reset it. So I'm going to select my face, that track there, and what I want to do, I want to rotate it. So I've got this little cursor here. Hey, woo. I'm rotating it, and I want to get it straight up and down. I could do this all day and never quite get it. So what I'm going to do is, I see that it's supposed to be around -90 there. -90, bam, straight up and down. It's a little too big. So I'm going to scale it back, which in this program is called zoom. So up here again in my transform area, I can zoom out. Hey, now it all fits in there. And then I want to move it over. I want to change the position. So this is my X coordinate, Y coordinate. The Y coordinate's fine. Make it back to 0. And I'm going to drag. You can just drag right there on the numbers. Drag it over to the side. Okay. If I'm going too fast, pause it. Rewind it. Now if you notice, the transform has an on-off, so I can disable that if I ever want to look at what the original video looked like prior to my transformations, right? So that's a nice handy feature. Also something to keep in mind if you're like, I know I did all of this, why am I not seeing my transformation? Well, maybe you have it turned off. And there's a lot more in here. I think they're fairly self-evident, and I encourage you to play around with them, but for now I just want to make sure that you know it's here. While we're talking about extra menus, I want you to notice on the left-hand side here are a bunch of menus that you may or may not be seeing. You can turn those off the same way. So media pool, that shows all the media that you're using in this project. In this project, I don't have that many, so I don't need it. The effects library, hey, look at that. So we might want to do some cool stuff there, you know, make cool transitions or whatever. Again, we're not talking about it now. I just want you to see where it is. And if you don't need any of this stuff, you turn it off. You've got more real estate on your screen, right? More places to work and get things done. So I've got my transformation on my, I'm going to resize. Oh, where is it? There it is. Make that a little larger. I'm going to turn off my inspector because I've already taken care of my resize and all that business. I want to put up a preview window. Okay. I'm dragging my playback head. I'm hitting spacebar. Okay, so it starts off at the very, very beginning. There's the overlay and no background. And I don't really have any good content prior to that. So I'm going to scoot back a little bit and chop off all that extra footage. I don't need it, right? So I can come over here and get my blade. Or if you see in the pop-up, I can hit B and engage my blade, and it's going to cut right there. It's going to snap to the cursor. So great. I don't want any of that stuff. My left arrow, playback. Okay. I'm using left arrow to play backwards. I want to get rid of all this stuff. Well, and how do I do it? I've got my blade. Well, I have to go back up here and select with A. I'm going to marquee select. That means to drag, make a marquee. You drag over things you want to select. And I've got them selected. I hit delete. Bam. One thing I like that you might not like about DaVinci is it automatically compresses that dead space at the beginning. That's probably a preference you can turn on and off. I honestly haven't dealt with changing that on this software, so I don't know what it offers, but it doesn't matter. We're doing a 10-second video. So now I've trimmed off the beginning of it. When I hit spacebar, okay, again, at the end, I've got a bunch of useless footage. So I want to get rid of all of that, that excess. So I can come back up here and select my blade, my razor blade, or I can hit B. And I can cut it wherever I want to. I'm going to hit undo. This time when I hit B, I'm going to hold down Control. Oh wait, what was it? Was it not Control? Maybe it's Shift. Oh, I have to look it up. How embarrassing. There's a bunch of shortcuts. That should have been. Oh, Control B. Why is it not doing it? Well, I obviously have forgotten the command there, but there's a command where you can cut everything all at once. We only have 2 video tracks, so excuse me. I'm not going to worry about it. In Premiere, there's you hit I think you hold down Control when you cut, and it slices all your tracks at once. Well, the benefit to that is that now I've made all these slices. I've got all my tracks cut. I can select them and delete them. Okay, now if you've hit all the same buttons that I have in the same sequence, you should be now at a place where you have a little video overlay sitting on top of another video. I'm going to hit home. Now there's a chance that you've accidentally hit buttons that you didn't need to for this video, and you're puzzled. One of the things, this took me forever to figure out, is if I get into trim mode for some reason, if I hit T and then I end up with that highlighted, I'm going to put my cursor here. Oh, my video is too short to even show it. But what would happen is it would not play basically any more than 4 or 5 seconds, and it would rewind, and it would just create a havoc on my editing. Let me see, maybe it was. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, that one there, dynamic trim mode. I'm sure there's a good benefit for that, but yeah, if you've got this dynamic trim turned on, notice when I hit play, it rewinds a little bit and then plays a little afterwards. And you know, it's made for sampling that region. You don't have to start, stop, and rewind. But for the way my workflow, that just gets in my way. So there, I don't want to over-explain anything. We've made a video, right? There's other cool features we could turn on and off. I will say snapping is something that you probably will want to make use of if it's not turned on. What that does is it allows you, when you're trimming clips, and in this software is really easy. You just mouse over the edge of your clip, make sure that you're on your arrow here, and then you just drag the end, and then bam, it snaps to match up with whatever clip you're closest to. If I did that with trim edit mode, on this end you don't notice it, but on the other end, oh wait, it's a weird editing style. I haven't gotten used to doing it like that. It actually moves the whole track against your cursor rather than your cursor against the track. Anyhow, there's a few different tools up there that are very similar, and if things don't act right, there's a good chance you've just turned it on the wrong tool up here by accident. So, right, we have a video. Great. We want to share it. How do we share it? If you use a lot of software or a little software, your intuition is to come up here, go to File, Export, and then what? There's no option for a video file. You can make a bin, a timeline. We don't want that. We want to export an MP4 or an AVI or something. What do you do? Well, DaVinci, just like all these other companies, decided, oh, we're going to reinvent our own wheel. So down here at the bottom, where we had to click edit to go to that workspace, you can go over to deliver. Because anyhow, so yeah, we want to deliver the product at the end, but I don't like that appropriation of terminology, honestly. So here's our video. If you don't see these, what I'm seeing, there's a good chance that, you know, one of these menus up here is not, oh, I don't have any tape connect, is not clicked or turned on. There we go. So always check up here in your corners and see if something is activated or not activated. Okay, so what we're going to do, we want to export this video for someone else to watch, you know, in Tokyo. So over on our left hand side, what we do is we give it a file name, C major scale B, because I did a test version of this video earlier and this is the second go. Now this is key. Where do I want it to go? I browse, and this part you should be rolling your eyes at me like, yes, I know how to do all this part. But if you don't, oh, why am I running so slow? Okay, I've angered my computer here. I hit Control Shift N. I had to look. I do it out of habit and I don't realize what I'm hitting. Control Shift N for new folder, and then I'm going to call it exports. That's what I do with all my projects. And I'm going to save here. Now, I have not saved this video. I've just told it where I want it to save. I still have to go through and check that everything is going to export the way I want it. Right out of the gates, it's defaulted to video. I could export just the audio, you know. If you get a video clip sometime, you're like, oh, I just want to strip the audio. Hey, DaVinci Resolve right here. You pull in your video, only export the audio. And then some file stuff. We don't care about that. I'm going to export a video. Now the format, I am absolutely not going to export as QuickTime. Oh my goodness, why? I'm going to export as an MP4. My codec, H.264. Oh, it doesn't even offer other encoding methods, but that's pretty much the standard. That's the gold standard these days. And then my resolution, this is standard high def. If I wanted to upsample this video, I could, or downsample it. But these days, 9 times out of 10, you know, the 920 by 1080 is plenty fine. The frame rate is presumably what our video was, and everything got adjusted to. We could go look at that, but you could type it in. Oh, it says this is what we're getting here. Okay. You might see an option like 29.97 or 23.9. I forget what it, off the top of my head, 9.8, and 24 frames a second, 25 frames per second, and 60 frames. You know, all these basic standards. Most things these days are in 30 frames per second, unless you're watching on like sports or some high def thing. But 30 is going to be a good frame rate, and don't go lower than 24. Never go lower than 24. You'll start to see some weirdness. Here, quality, leave it at best. Encoding rate, all this stuff, just don't even touch it. So great, we've got all of this set up. What do? Well, we have to add it to the queue. I clicked add to render queue, and now it's populated my render queue over here on the other side. Yeah, you should just see it up there. And once you get it, okay. I was just seeing. I still haven't used all the features on the software, so I'm always curious. That's what I do when I'm using anything. Click around and I'm right clicking just to see what options it gives me. So I have only one video in my queue here, and I can just hit render all. And what it's going to do is render every video that I've edited, put in the queue, which is only one right now. But sometimes your workflow may be such that you want to cock and load a bunch of videos to render at a time when you're going to be not at the computer, so that you're not sitting here waiting on it, right? So you could load up your queue with basically load up the hopper, hit go, and then go to bed, go eat supper, leave the house. And that's a way to, just capitalize on efficiency. I did it last night. I had to do a lot of percussion videos, and I cocked and loaded, walked away. So anyhow, I'm going to render. Now, I'm recording while this is rendering. So I've got a lot of software running. Okay, but that went pretty quickly. It's what was it, like a 6-second video? I'm going to say this is good. I'm going to close it. Here's those where my assets were. I'm going back to where I exported it. Boom. C major scale. Yep. Hollywood gold. I hope that helps out. And if you have any questions, just let me know.